Good morning, and welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Shawn Trapp, and I serve this congregation as the president-elect. Whether you've been with us on Sundays for a long time or visiting us for the first time today, we welcome you to our service. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with the participation open to all who agree to live into our principles, mission, and values. We are a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities. And we unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self into our community of caring and commitment to grow as spiritual and moral beings. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and our planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is a custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If this is your first time here, would you mind raising your hand so that we can acknowledge you? All right. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All of you are invited to join us for coffee after service. New and newer folks are invited to grab a green mug located just inside the door of the fellowship hall so we can easily spot you and speak with you during our coffee hour. You're welcome to fill out one of the green cards that are located in the back of the pews so we can keep in touch with you. Just simply drop the card in the offering basket or in the box at the welcome table in the foyer. I have one brief announcement this morning. Linda Molnar has asked that anybody who would like to take a flower from the display, which will be in the lobby. The flowers are in memory of Linda's son, Shandor, who passed away. Thank you, Linda, and our hearts are with you and your family at this time. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your personal theology, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. Our service will now begin.
Good morning. I am Ken Elder. I am pleased to be your worship associate today. I serve this congregation as a member of the Sunday Services Committee. Our theme for November is repair, and I've noticed that many spiritual messages deal with repair of wounded self-esteem or recovery from various harms that life has visited upon us. Much repair and recovery offers the opportunity to build back better. Some heart-stirring messages have to do with finding one's authentic inner voice. Today's chalice lighting message is a compelling testament to the joys of expressing your own true, authentic self. It's in this most recent issue of the UU World, and you'll find it on page 17. The title of this is A True Story by Lee Kinvey. This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are in other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting not by number, but by silence, by wild abandon, with a brush you made yourself from light deep inside. Startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. We now acknowledge our sacred space here with the lighting of the chalice.
Our theme for November is repair. The last time I spoke from this pulpit, I talked about repairing the torn fabric of our communities, how each of us could mend and heal the divide in our nation. We will continue that theme today amidst the historic challenges we face together. We all have the capacity to mend and repair individually and collectively. May our hearts and minds come forward in this space and in this time. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 318, We Would Be One.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GOOF. And after the story today, since it's the first Sunday of the month, we'll have all kindergartners through high schoolers all together downstairs in the RE Commons, where we can explore our makerspace and our RE library and all sorts of other exciting things downstairs. So if you have a kid that's going to come with me downstairs, you can come, go to the end of the hallway and walk down the stairs and follow the voices to come pick them up after the service. So I welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who would like to come up close and hear the story to come sit in the front pews or on the floor at the base of the steps. Welcome. Come join us up here on the floor. Our book today is called We Are the Builders, written by Deepa Iyer and Romina Galata. Now this book was written, Deepa Iyer is not a children's book author. Deepa Iyer is a social scientist who developed a model on all the different roles that people can play in community to make community work. So this book is based upon her work, and so we can learn all the different roles we could possibly play in community. So welcome to our community day. Ready to find your role to play? My name is Ramla. I'm your guide. Follow me and stay by my side. So many grown-ups and kids are here. Everyone wants to volunteer. There's plenty to do in our town. Help new friends, plant trees in the ground. The time is now. Let's all play our part. Listen and learn. What moves your heart? We are the builders. We form and forge, construct and fix, improve homes with nails and bricks. See those old desks, tables, and chairs, good as new with some repairs? Who wants to join the builders? Now, if you're someone who you think you'd like to be a builder or you have been a builder, please raise your hand and go, woohoo! We've got a lot of builders here today. We are the caregivers. We comfort, console, soothe, and cheer. Care kits for all, near and dear. Acts of service and words that mend. How can I help my new friend? So who has been a caregiver or wants to join the caregivers? All right. I like seeing all the different people we've got. We'll see if we have any holes in our system. We need to train some new folks. We are the frontline responders. We plan and protect, stay prepared, storms brewing, but don't be scared. Stock cans, bags of fresh fruits, gather warm coats, gloves and boots. Who wants to join the frontline responders? Or who's been a frontline responder? We are the disruptors. We declare, demand, demonstrate, call for change, don't hesitate, raise our voices, banners, and beats, meet and march out in the streets. Now, who's been a disruptor or wants to be one? Oh, I like that. We are the experimenters. We scan, invent, and improvise, solve hard problems with fresh eyes. What if these used bottles and rags could become backpacks and bags? So who wants to join the experimenters, or who's been an experimenter? Nice. We are the visionaries. We dream, imagine, and inspire a world we can all admire. Fresh air, clean water, safe and free, bright futures, that's what we see. Who would join the visionaries? We are the weavers. We stitch, we braid, we intertwine. Common threads link hearts and minds. When people fight or disagree, find what connects you and me. Who is a weaver, or who wants to join the weavers? The weavers are a little more soft-spoken, I notice. But they're here. We are the healers. We renew, restore, and relieve. Tend to those who cry and grieve. Sometimes when the world is too much, we nurture with breath and touch. Who would join the healers? We are the storytellers. We sing, we dance, we create art, bring joy and love heart to heart. Vibrant murals preserve our past, histories cherished at last. Who would be a storyteller? Right. Of the different roles to play, which one feels like you today? You could become a guide like me, show new folks what they can be. We mentor, we advise, we steer, share wisdom, honest and clear. Who imagines that they could be a good guide? Yeah. Now that it's clear what we can each do, we want to hear from all of you. What role would you choose? Who would you be? How will you change your community? So that's the thought I want you to leave with. What's the best role for you to play today? And we'll leave, this last slide shows the social ecosystem model that Deepa Iyer developed with their values in the middle, equity, liberation, justice, and solidarity. Those sound very much like Unitarian Universalist values, don't you think? And then all of those 9 roles around them. So thank you for listening. And if you're coming with me downstairs to the RE Commons, please follow closely and slowly behind me.
Our congregation is entirely self-governed by a democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are now invited to sow generous seeds of blessing into the fertile soil of this beloved community. Together, we all enjoy the bountiful harvest of increase. The ushers will now come among you to accept your gifts. Thank you. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. This first one is by Ward Hammond. Happy Diwali, Festival of Lights, to all my Indian friends and colleagues. So we'll call that a joy. New artist Susan Staggs is donating 20% of the sale to this fellowship and the rest to GOAL, G-O-A-L. This is by Stephen Chapp, FFA. The print's a little bit rugged on this one, so I'm going to try my best. This is a sorrow. For those who remember our Reverend Father John Ingram of Sultry Dreams, and made wood goblets and tin canards. He passed away of cancer, and his family would accept thoughts in keeping with the faith in memory. So that is a sorrow that's not signed. Here we have a joy by Karen Cons. A joy. My niece had her first child, a girl named Adele's. Okay. We will light a final candle representing all of the joys and sorrows present in our hearts that yet may remain unspoken.
Our reading today comes from the Message to Congress by President Abraham Lincoln, December of 1862, at the height of the Civil War. Will not the good people respond to a united and earnest appeal from us? Can they, by any other means, so certainly and so speedily measure these vital objects? We can succeed only by concert. It is not, can any of us imagine better, but can we all do better? Object whatever so is possible. Still, the question recurs, can we do better? The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We of this Congress and of this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. We say we are for the Union. The world will not forget that we say this. We know how to save the Union. The world knows we do it and how to save it. We here, hold the power and bear the responsibility. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. We shall nobly save or meaningly lose the last best hope of earth. Other means may succeed. This could not fail. The way is plain, peaceful, generous, just. A way which, if followed, the world will forever applaud, and God must forever bless.
Let us use the next few moments of silence to prepare our hearts and minds to receive the meditation message. Oftentimes, repair and restoration depends on deep rest. Speaking of the physical body, and of course the emotions and the soul energy. This message is by Reverend Sherry Woodbury. It's titled, Invitation to Arrive and Rest. Out of the din of the city, away from the noise of the crowds we come, to rest in this moment, in this place. Set apart from the never-ending to-do list, embracing the seventh day, a day of rest. We come to the warmth and stillness of this sacred hour. Remember, you have chosen to be here. Something in your life led you to arrive here now. Whatever tasks and cares await you, just for now, for this brief time, simply rest. Allow your soul to be nurtured. Let the waves in your mind and heart gradually subside as you come home to yourself, holy and whole.
Good morning. Let's just take another deep breath. I could feel the suspense, the tension, the anxiety we are all facing. The enormity of this moment for ourselves, our communities, and our country is weighing on us. Let's take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. We're gonna be okay. For our newcomers, again, I am Shawn Trapp, the current president-elect of GROOF. 2 years ago, I spoke from this pulpit about the practical things we could do to bridge the divides in our larger communities. I ask that as UUs, we committed ourselves to our rich history of civic engagement. This congregation, our community, showed up with this in a big way with UU the Vote. We sent over 4,700 postcards encouraging folks to participate in the democratic process. That is simply amazing and worthy of a pat on the back and a round of applause. Also of note, if you have this month's UU World, there is a section on civic engagement and democracy in one of our sister congregations, the First Parish UU congregation in Concord, Massachusetts, where the Battle of Lexington and Concord began. They have a democracy day and other civic engagement articles that are in here. So if you happen to have gotten this in the mail, check that out. This is a great issue of UU World. The second thing I mentioned was from a more personal standpoint, having difficult conversations with folks we may not agree with, and having conversations in communities and cultures we may not normally engage in. Thirdly, the re-engagement and recommitment to teaching our youth civics in schools and at home. Fourth was to expand democracy to fairer representation in our government and institutions, and removing unnecessary barriers to the right to vote. And lastly, a commitment to public service and volunteering and staying engaged in our schools, our congregation, and our community at large. These 5 things I spoke of before are pretty much individual actions to building a better community. Today, I would like to talk about the ways the collective can better itself and those in and around it. To cultivate a better community, we need to look at the characteristics of a successful community. Thanks to the power of AI, these characteristics are aggregated from data from all over. These characteristics are 1, a shared vision, 2, inclusivity and diversity, 3, strong relationships and a support system, 4, open communication, 5, justice and fairness, 6, adaptability and opportunities for growth. As UUs, we are finally in tune with these characteristics as they sort of form our original 7 principles, or now guide us through our Article 2 revisions that we made this year. But when we think about outside into our larger communities, like Greenville or South Carolina, or in our nation, do we really see a strong connection to those things? It does seem to get a bit muddied as farther out you go. Let's do a quick experiment. Our national community, do we have a shared vision? Well, we have one written for us, 2 actually. The Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In our Constitution, it's better explained. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Score 1 for a shared vision. But do we do inclusivity and diversity, strong relationships, justice and fairness, open communication, and opportunities for growth well at the national level? One might say in the last 20 some odd years, the jury is probably still out on that. Hold the line. we'll get back to you. It's a much better example in our state and local communities, maybe so, maybe not, right? We can pinpoint examples of probably more acutely the closer we get to home. If we look back into the communities of the early United States, say in the early 1800s, we notice something very interesting. The average American extolled the importance of civic involvement in community associations beyond the religious and political ones. French author Alexis de Tocqueville, in his tour of American towns and communities, noticed this trend was quite distinct and quite American. There were associations for all sorts of interests, something that did not exist in Europe. These associations hit a lot of the buttons for those characteristics we explored earlier. Open communication, check. Strong relationships, check. Inclusivity, check. Opportunities for growth, possible. Local philanthropy increased for certain. There were artisan and trade associations, and farmers formed co-ops and granges. What caused this phenomenon? Well, one, everything at the time was local. If someone traveled outside of their hometown, it was rare until the advent of greater modes of transportation. It has been argued that the changes in suffrage and greater access to voting and electoral participation from the reforms of the Jeffersonian and Jacksonian democracy years cultivated a sense of purpose, a sort of skin-in-the-game mentality. There was a yearning to discuss ideas. Libraries and schools were built during these times, giving communities access to information and education. A robust postal service, one that we take great advantage of now, and newspapers increased communication amongst people. Folks in the 1800s knew that in order for their community to be successful, for America to be successful, the collective rights and responsibilities were as important as the individual rights and responsibilities. I do want to make one thing clear, though. While this may seem wonderful and captivating to our current times, it's merely a look at a small piece of what America was successful at during those times. We have to understand that much of this was closed off to women, to slaves, to indentured servants, to the indigenous, and to the immigrant populations. However, the principles do imply in terms of how women began the quest for suffrage in that time period. Abolition societies sprang up, and an emphasis on fairness and the conditions of the worker, the pre-labor movement began. People wanted a stake in the American experiment. But let's just back up for a second here. So the expansion of white male suffrage gave way to more robust communities. Then that means the expansion of rights of other groups did the same. Exactly. But for the abolition of slavery, the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments launched the organizing of civil rights amongst African Americans. Workers' rights propelled the expansion of the labor movement. Women's suffrage expanded to the feminist movements, and on and on and on. And an increase in communication, transportation technologies, education, and continued growth of community groups and association means America has backed into the expansion of democracy. So if we take the characteristics of successful communities and what that has yielded for the success of America, we can glean that what cultivates a civic community. But first, why do we need civics to be successful in our communities? Simply for the things that we need which are lacking. Civics and civic engagement can remedy all the things that we need. Our communities need education. We need volunteers and group associations to meet the opportunities not met by governments and individuals. We need relationships and community support. We need opportunities for expanded communications and sharing of ideas. We needed the commitment to preserve and expand democracy. This allows us to create a constant feeling of having a stake and a voice in success of our collective community. Civics is explaining the importance of the work of bettering our communities, local to national, and dare I say, international. No matter what happens as a result of Tuesday, work continues on things like challenges to voter laws, challenges to basic and fundamental civil rights of marginalized groups, challenges to the gaps in wealth and economic disparity, how to expand economic opportunity, how to protect the environment, challenges to the freedom of expression, challenges to a robust and meaningful education. At a higher level, we really need to define for ourselves and for future generation what our shared values are. If we recall from earlier what Lincoln had said, the inadequate dogmas of a quiet past, and what Jefferson and some of the other founders expected to us to have completely rewritten our Constitution each and every generation. Kind of hard to imagine in today's political climate. Instead, we have a 4 steps forward, 2 steps back, slow evolution of rights and responsibilities. Our current Constitution is from 1789. The last time there was a meaningful amendment was in the 1970s, which was the expansion of suffrage to those 18 or older. Our state constitution in its current form is from 1895, with revisions from 1970. While the foundations of shared values are good, we have come a long way from those foundings. Technology and the nature of communities has changed. Let's be honest, are there many things we still cleave to from the 1780s, the 1890s, and aside from great music and a questionable fashion sense, the 1970s? So whatever happens this week, let's recommit ourselves to be active citizens, to ensure the success of our communities. We cannot escape history, as Lincoln said. We must rise to the occasion and do better. Have better conversations with our neighbors and fellow citizens. Cultivate a better shared vision and create opportunities for our communities. Rise to the occasion of ensuring democracy expands and our commitment to voting and access to the vote. Advocating or participating in a robust, better education system. Volunteering and staying philanthropically engaged in our community groups. Sharing our time and our treasure. Commit to diversity, inclusivity, justice, and fairness. On this, I leave you with a quote from Howard Zinn that has been spoken from this pulpit before by Reverend Chris. It is worth repeating today, not only as we contemplate bettering our communities, but as we look beyond the outcome of Tuesday. For those moments when we are tired, when we get anxious, when we have setbacks in this great American experiment, to propel us forward in hope for better days for ourselves, our children, and future generations. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What will we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, that gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, 1017, Building a New Way.
Please join me by saying the words in your order of service as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our benediction today is a poem by Miller Williams for President Clinton's second inauguration. It's called Of History and Hope. We have memorized America, how it was born, and who we have been and where. In ceremonies and silence, we say the words, telling the stories, singing the old songs. We like the places they take us. Mostly we do. The great and all the anonymous dead are there. We know the sound of all the sounds we brought, the rich taste of it on our tongues. But where are we going to be and why and who? The disenfranchised dead want to know. We mean to be the people we're meant to be, to keep on going where we're meant to go. But how do we fashion the future? Who can say how except in the minds of those who will call it now? The children. The children. And how does our garden grow? With waving hands, oh rarely in a row, and flowering faces, and brambles that we can no longer allow. Who who we many people are coming together cannot become one people falling apart. Who dreamed for every child an even chance cannot let luck alone turn doorknobs or not. Whose law was never so much in the hand as in the head cannot let chaos make its way into the heart. We have seen learning struggles from teacher to child and cannot let ignorance spread itself like rot. We know that we have done and what we have said, and how we have grown degree by slow degree, believing ourselves toward all we have tried to become, just and compassionate, equal and able and free. All this in the hands of children, eyes already set on a land we cannot visit. It is not there yet, but looking through their eyes, we can see what our long gift to them may come to be. If we can truly remember, they will not forget.